This is my 2000. Wait a second. Wait, what? Oh, here we go. This is my 2016 Ford Focus RS, and today we're going to be doing a story time. Let's dive into it. Owning this car for the last 9 months has had its up and downs. It's been just a crazy emotional roller coaster with this vehicle. But before we dive into the actual specifics of it, let's go ahead and dive into why I wanted to buy this car. This goes all the way back to 2023. In 2023, I worked at my local Ford dealership, and after some time, a salesperson had contacted me about this yellow Focus ST. It was a 2013 model ST3, tangerine screen, and that's where it all began, right? I ended up buying that car, owning it for a little bit, and we're not gonna get into the whole like why I wanted to go get the Focus RS, but as you can see by my shirt, I was a huge Ken Block fan. Having an ST was the closest I could get to the RS, so once I set eyes on an RS, I was like, this is the goal. It was one of my dream cars. Little did I know that this dream car would become a nightmare. During my time of owning a Focus ST, I learned a lot about the 2.0-liter EcoBoost platform. I learned that there's a lot of online support, a lot of aftermarket support, and heck man, even a lot of people on YouTube mod these cars. But during my time at Ford, I was able to service those 2.3-liter RSs. If you currently own a Focus ST or you've owned one in the past, you know that the RS was the end goal, right? The 2.0-liter front-wheel drive platform was never going to compare to the 2.3-liter all-wheel drive platform. Heck, I mean, if you look at it from factory, a 250-wheel horsepower compared to a 350-wheel horsepower, I mean, what sounds better? You would assume the RS was a better platform. But is that true, though? Now, this is not a which is better, an ST or an RS video. It's simply a video explaining my experience of owning an RS after owning an ST. But before we get into that, we have to rewind a little bit. Back in 2025, I told myself, I'm gonna get an RS. Kind of. It was a goal, but it wasn't one that I was actually trying to achieve. It wasn't until I was working longer hours and doing a bunch of side detailing for extra cash where I started to think, heck, dude, this actually might happen. Fast forward to 2025, my wife sends me a Facebook Marketplace listing from a dealership in Seattle. Mind you, I live in Eastern Washington. This Marketplace listing comes from Seattle. I didn't think much of it, and if you're a Facebook Marketplace guy, you're only there to really browse. You're not really there to actually look for things seriously. It wasn't until I decided to send a message to one of the salesmen. The car had 77,000 miles. It honestly looked clean on the pictures I saw, and when I sent the message to the salesman, it was kind of a, we're gonna see where it goes. I didn't really think much of it. When I messaged the salesman, it was kind of a mistake. You know how they are. They want to make a sale off of you. And realistically, I kind of put myself in a position where, how can you say no? Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would you send a message to a car salesman? Don't you know they're just there to sell you? Heck, I even made it worse. I decided to look at the Carfax. The Carfax looked clean. The car came from Nevada at one point. It had the head gasket recall done. It had all the maintenance to it. So I said, yo, let's go. Let's see what else they have to offer. And then I got approved. And I thought, well, shoot, should I go actually pick it up? Just because you're approved doesn't mean you have to go buy the car. But when you're approved, there's more incentive for you to go get the car. And that's where I kind of messed up. So I decided to take my happy ass to Seattle. I loaded the family up in the ST. We took a trip to Seattle and we thought we'd make it a fun day trip. Go look at the car, maybe even get it. On the way to Seattle, it was actually fun. We were driving my ST. It was the last moments I had with it, realistically. And after the 3-ish to 4-ish hour drive, we got to the dealership. If you've ever been to a dealership, you know what the salesmen are like. You show up on any vehicle with 4 wheels, they're walking up to you. This is my name, nice to meet you, what's yours? Here's a complimentary water bottle. And mind you, I mean, they're really nice people. That's their literal job. So we go into the dealership and off to the corner of my eye, I see the RS parked. They had it washed, ready for a test drive, and I test drove it. While test driving it, I actually FaceTimed my buddy Franklin. You've seen him in previous videos, and we were both pretty hyped. We knew it had an aftermarket exhaust and made the pops and the bangs on sport mode. It was super cool. I popped open the hood, listened for any abnormal noise. I looked at any mods, and realistically at the time, it honestly looked like it only had an exhaust. It also was routed for true vacuum source, which I had already done on my ST, so everything that it had looked very familiar to me. And I know what you're thinking. Why the hell would you buy a used EcoBoost engine? Those are called EcoBoom for a reason. Well,
hi there. Those homemade pies sure look good.
Oh, these aren't homemade. They were made in a factory. A bomb factory. They're bombs.
Oh.
Well, I didn't think much of it. I was very excited, and that's where I messed up. I checked underneath the car and there was no leaks. It was simply maybe a seepage from the timing cover. It wasn't serious and something I could probably do in my own garage. And I ended up signing the paperwork. Mind you, I drove 4 hours, so by the time I got there, it was already late, plus the test drive. So when I signed the paperwork, it was already closing time. Once we signed the paperwork, I went out and we started loading the car up. I said goodbye to the ST. We were moving on to better things, to the RS. They didn't fill it up with gas, so I had to pay out of pocket. But once I filled the car up with gas, I ended up leaving, and it was great. I was almost tearing up. It was really cool to be driving a car saying that this is mine all the way home. And that's when things kind of took a turn for the worst. Not even 30 minutes out from where we were in Seattle, the car breaks down. I'm sitting on the side of a road near Snoqualmie Pass, and I don't know what to do. The code was for overheating, and I thought, did I blow a head gasket? Did we hit the famous stigma of this car, the 2.3 liter EcoBoost head gasket issue? But it was weird. There was no loss of coolant. The car didn't really seem like it was having any issues. It just went into limp mode. I started freaking out. I called a couple of my buddies and I ended up getting towed home. Again, the dealership was closed. What was I supposed to do? And this is where things got even worse. Getting towed wasn't necessarily the worst part. It was actually a weird experience. The tow driver, or the tow truck driver, said that we could actually sit in the back of the car while he tows us home. Mind you, tow truck drivers do not drive the speed limit. They drive a lot slower than what the speed limit is on the highways. It took almost 6 hours to get back home. By the time the car got towed to my house, it was already almost like 3 to 4 in the morning, and we were exhausted, we were tired, and again, it was a weird experience. I had my kids in the car. I immediately sent pictures to the salesman, and honestly, this is the scary part, right? When you buy a car from a dealership, you don't know what dealership you're dealing with. They could have completely ghosted me. Luckily, they did not. The salesman reached out right away and said, oh my gosh, we're gonna reimburse towing, and we're gonna see what's going on. Take it to your local dealership, see what they can do and what they can find. We'll cover it no matter what. And it seemed promising up until it really wasn't. I took it to my local Ford dealership. I told them, I ran my own tests, I'll be honest. I found low compression cylinder 3, and I told them, diagnose it, get it on paper, put it on the log so that this dealership could pay for a new engine. And well, they cut corners. Whoever worked on it decided to do only a relative compression test, which, if you know anything about cars, a true compression test, pulling each plug on each cylinder, running the compression, getting the numbers off of the gauges, is a lot more accurate than just hooking up a laptop to the ECU. I ended up stuck with the car, but it didn't really stop there. I told the dealership that if they didn't give me the best extended warranty to cover any of the cost of the car if something went wrong, they would have to come bring my ST back and they come pick up the RS. And I fought for this car. This was a 3-month process. It took forever, but I had my friends who had my back. They said, yo, this is your dream car. Don't you want to fight for it? You have the chance to get a whole new engine or get things covered. And I didn't really know what to do. This is my dream car turned nightmare. I had a whole mental battle. Do I give the car back, get my ST? And that's honestly the most reasonable thing to do, right? Go get your old car back. It didn't give you issues. But again, my friends had my back. They said, yo, if this dealership can get you a whole new block because they messed up, go with that. And honestly, I decided to keep it. After waiting 3 months, we finally got the paperwork. I got the towing reimbursed. And things finally looked like we were in the clear. I knew I had extended warranty in the back of my mind. And I know what you're thinking. Extended warranty does not cover cars with aftermarket parts, but I made sure they did. So months later, I mean, if you keep up with my social media, you know, I had a whole series called Maintaining the RS. I did the oil change myself because at this point, I didn't know what they did right or what they did wrong. I did everything, spark plugs, everything. And the things I found, they had 4 auto light plugs in there.
That's the spark plug for Focus RS. Denso, auto light.
And 1 Denso. That was already a red flag. The drain bolt for the oil was already loose, and that.
All right, guys, real quick. So I just did an oil change on my RS, and good thing is that there's no like metal shavings. But the drain bolt was very loose. I literally finger tight. It's actually insane. This thing has been well mistreated. It's time to take good care of her.
That was a red flag, and just everything felt like it was going wrong. So once I got my hands on the car and started taking care of it, I started adding some supporting mods. I didn't go buy a big turbo, slap it on there and call it good. I went and bought some catch cans because I know the whole 2.3 liter crankcase pressure thing. I know that these have crazy blow by through the valves because the PCV system isn't great. And trust me, if you kept up with the series, I did everything I could. If you kept up my old YouTube videos, I did everything I could. And then months later, around the new year, I finally experienced a rear main seal leak. So I thought to myself, hey, well, you know what? Let's put that extended warranty that they gave me for free because of the inconvenience to the test. So I went to my Ford local dealership again and I said, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. Can you guys diagnose it? And honestly, in the back of my head, I said, what is extended warranty going to cover? And to my surprise, they actually found the leak. Well, they found a different leak. They found the timing cover that I mentioned earlier. And so they did that. They also found that the rear caliper on the passenger side was leaking, and they covered that as well. So I said, wow, they actually came in clutch. So once they did that, the car obviously still had the rear main seal leak. And so we went in again after another month. And mind you, I believe this is more towards like March at this point. Yeah, we put the car in and we said, hey, it still has that rear main seal leak. And yeah, that's when they said, well, try the turbo lines, because they found that the turbo lines were leaking. And well, yeah, it took a while, but they said, hey, we're going to approve the turbo lines. And then the engine blew. And I know what you're thinking. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have got this car. This is all my fault. And you are right. It is my fault. But I'm staying patient through the process, right? So now at this point, with a car already pending a turbo line change, what is the extended warranty going to think when a turbo, like a replacement for a turbo line till transfers or transitions into a replacement for a whole entire long block? I was literally biting my nails. I didn't have the car for 2 months. We were just playing the waiting game. They wanted proof. They wanted pictures. They didn't send an adjuster. And thank God, because again, I did everything I could on my part. This car, I bought it the way it was, and I already knew about the underlying issues when I did my compression test myself. The issue is the extended warranty. If you ever experience any sort of relationship with an extended warranty, they're very pinpoint picky. It really depends on the one you get. And I got really lucky because after almost like a couple months of no communication, again, the dealership people, they got their lives to live here locally. Yeah, they actually decided to say, hey, we're going to cover the motor. So while I was taking a trip in Portland about a month ago now, yeah, they sent a whole new long block from Ford. And I thought this was the biggest come up. I said, let's go. We got it. We got a new long block. And they dropped the motor, put in a new long block. Again, if you keep up with social media, you see it all there. And here I am with a brand new 2.3 liter, EcoBoost motor. Yeah, I got in the car once it was all replaced, and after not driving it for 2 months, it felt surreal. I was like, holy crap, I have my dream car with a brand new engine. Remember when I said it had turbo line leaks? Remember that. So yeah, I break the engine in. Like, I'm very meticulous about this, right? So you get 1,000 miles to break in the engine, and so I did the first 500 miles, and I did an oil change there. And I did it through the dealership, so it goes on record. After another 500, I went and did another oil change. And mind you, when you break in the engine, you cannot wide open throttle. I was literally, the most PSI this car had seen during the break-in was, I believe, 0.38. Like, I barely mashed on it. I drove this car like if it was NA all the way. And so, yeah, we broke the engine in, everything was going good, and the car still was blowing blue smoke off the tailpipe. Why did the engine blow? Well, after the technician scoped down through the cylinders, he found that 1 and 2 lost compression. Also found that cylinder 3 had ringling failure, which is notorious on the RS. This is why you do your oil catch cans to help prevent blow-by. I know there's a whole baffle plate issue that can possibly starve cylinder 3. There's all these variables, but at the end of the day, I bought the car the way it was, knowing that. So, but remember when I said the turbo lines were leaking? Well, here we are, present day. My car is back at the dealership.
I got this. I got this.
We installed the intercooler, which you'll see next Friday. But yeah, unfortunately, the car is back in the shop. And I know, I'm not really living up to the 2.3 liter is so much better than the 2.0. Let's get the facts straight. The 2.0 block is a lot better because if you know anything about those engines, they're a closed deck block and these are open deck block. They're more prone to failure because the more boost you give, you have thinner cylinder walls. And honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. This experience has taught me a lot. What not to do next time, and even the friendships I made along the way and just, all the fun stuff that's come with it. P.S. I do want to say, as an accountable guy, I am not the reason why this engine failed. Remember when I said I looked at the Carfax? The car had 4 previous owners. And again, I know what you're thinking. Why the hell would you keep the car even when it broke on the first day? Mind you, I was honestly just, I had good people backing me up on this. I thought I could you know, get a new motor. And honestly, I've been lucky through this entire process. But if you're in the market for a used sport car, make sure there's only one owner, make sure there's no mods on the car, and make sure that it has low miles, because if not, you're going to be like me. And not everybody ends up like me. I got lucky enough to get a new long block on my dream car, a new 2.3 liter that they don't make anymore. And honestly, that's not the case for everybody. Some people buy their car, and the moment that they drive off the lot, it's just as is. If it blows down the road, you might get lucky. If it blows a month later, that's when you run the risk, guys. So when you do it, do your research. Again, when they took the car apart when it blew, you could tell that previous ownership was the cause of failure. They had mentioned that the cylinder walls had horrible scoring. They said the camshafts they were discolored because of the lack of oil changes. Just whoever owned it before me didn't take care of it. It didn't even matter of all the service records. There was a ton of service records. That's why I went and got it. Had the head gasket recall. Again, I was like, this is it. But there was a gap in between all of that where there was no records at all. And because of my emotion, I decided to jump in it quicker. And even if, like, let's say I did decide to give the car back the day it broke down, I might have, you know, 9 months looking back at it now, I might have gotten myself a bone stock RS that I could mod without worry and without any stress, guys. So again, thank you for watching this video. We'll see you in the next video with the intercool installation. Again, guys, be smart, be better, create, grow, inspire. We'll see you in the next one.